The name Death Sentence on a support champion might sound like a joke, but with a good team, the picks it can make can be quite fitting for the name. And with a certain playstyle, the Death Sentence can become literal. But like anything with potential so great comes difficulty. Thresh's Q, Death Sentence, better known as the Hook, is a skill shot, dodgeable by enemies during its travel time, and its fairly telegraphed cast time of 1 second. Keen-eyed enemies can employ flashes, dashes, or even just a confident right click to dodge the Thresh Hook, if the Thresh player was able to place it accurately at all. So what happens exactly when the Thresh Hook lands? And why is it considered to be such a powerful ability? How could a support ability be worthy of the name Death Sentence? The reward for landing the Thresh Hook is delivering 1.5 seconds of stun time followed by 2 pulls. Each pull is about the same distance as a flay, allowing you 3 effective pulls across your kit. The hook itself tethers Thresh to the target for the duration, locking you out of auto attacks, but you can still cast abilities, item actives, and recast Q to cancel any further pulling of the target, instead pulling Thresh himself to the enemy. Against champions, there is a half-second delay between the hook landing and when you're allowed to dash with it, so you will always get 1 pull of the target before you zoom to them. But against minions and monsters, there is no such delay, allowing you to dash to them as soon as the hook connects, and so you can dash across lanes and jungle walls using Q like a grappling hook. This method of fast travel will consume a good chunk of your potential damage if your goal is to chase a target, but if you were, say, playing AD Thresh, then dashing to a minion or monster won't lose you much of your damage at all. In fact, double casting your Q as quickly as you can on an enemy champion will keep them stunned for the full 1.5 seconds, whereas you will be free to auto attack much faster and get back to using that soul on hit damage for less interrupted DPS. If the target dies, you can still dash to them, but the recast window is so incredibly short that using Thresh's dash on a minion killed by your hook is like landing those just frame electric wind godfists in Tekken. It's really hard. Additionally, for 1 second after the hook connects, Thresh is slowed by 20%. This slow cannot be shortened by recasting Q quickly, nor reduced by Boots of Swiftness, affected by Tenacity, nor can it even be removed by Quicksilver Sash or Cleanse. If the Q kills the minion, the self-slow duration is doubled to 2 seconds. Additionally, the 20% slow seems to only affect the base movement speed and bonus flat speed like Boots. As with 6 Zeals offering 30% increased movement speed, the self-slow is only 15%, whereas most slows affect your total speed. It's worth knowing this before you just miss a flay while hooking an enemy. The hook does have a very long cooldown, up to 19 seconds at rank 1, lowering down to 9 seconds when maxed out, so missing it is even more dreadful. Hitting the hook on a target will immediately refund 2 seconds of cooldown, allowing more rapid use, particularly with extra levels and ability haste. And in Arena, the cooldown at rank 1 is lowered to 9 seconds, making it much less punishing to miss, and means you'll probably throw out more than just 1 hook per round. Death Sentence has a rather generous hitbox at the tip of Thresh's chain, and like most skill shots, will hit opponents outside of its own model. Larger enemies are, of course, easier to hit, but this is all merely compensation for how difficult it can be to hit a skill shot in a game with mobility and frantic fights like League of Legends. It's rare that you can attempt to abuse the hitbox of the hook purposefully, but you can at least use this to better aim max range hooks, and to figuratively curve your hook around a minion to hit the champion behind it. As mentioned, the cast time is 0.5 seconds, preceding the throw of the scythe, which reaches its maximum distance in 0.6 seconds. This gives plenty of time for opponents to react, or panic, when you start throwing your hook. And while you're not going to calculate the exact time and distance for it every time, you can simply assume that more distance needs more time, and go off of intuition. Not only is it a useful stun, pair of pulls and dash, but it also deals magic damage, starting with 100 base magic damage, going up by 50 per level until you reach 300 damage at rank 5 Death Sentence. This makes it completely on par with Pyke's Q base damage, but where their stats diverge is in their scaling. The Thresh Hook AP ratio is 90% as of patch 14.16, and you might be shocked to see that if you haven't played for a few years, as Thresh's AP ratios were pretty terrible before these recent changes. This means the slightly unconventional item, Imperial Mandate, with its 60 ability power, increases your Q's damage by 54, and the very unconventional Rabadon's Death Cap increases it by 152. For an easy support comparison, Thresh's Q at rank 5 deals the same damage, the same ratio, as Morgana Q at the same rank. With a 90% AP ratio and up to 300 base damage, should you build magic penetration or ability power if you wanted to purely increase its damage. With a Shadow Flame and an amplifying tome worth 3600 versus a target dummy with 40 base magic resistance, plus 40 from a pair of null magic mantles, Thresh's rank 5Q will deal 253 damage, but the equivalent cost Naked Death Cap will deal 251, at 2 damage lower for the same price. However, the cheaper percentage penetration item Void Staff will, on its own, be better than either of them against 80 magic resistance with a damage of 260. If we switch to a squishy opponent by removing their null magics, Shadow Flame and Void Staff are both weaker than Death Cap on their own, but with just an amplifying tome to bring their costs closer to Rabadon's, they exceed its damage by a bit. You can, of course, opt for applying spell effects such as Liandry's Torment, which against an 1000 HP target dummy fares a little bit worse. Then again, who builds Liandry's against 1000 HP targets? Shut up, brain. Though an added slow like Rylai's Crystal Scepter is not worth it at all, as its 1 second slow doesn't even last as long as the 1.5 seconds of your stun that the Q provides. It will have disappeared by the time they can move again. Luden's Companion may do the most damage of any item off of one hook alone, but that's not how you would actually aim to max out damage with Thresh. High damage can come from effective use of Thresh's 2 pulls as well as his other abilities. Thresh's highest damage from one ability will come from his ultimate, and Thresh's Q can guarantee a hit with it depending on the distance. But to start off with the basics, a simple combo is to dash in on your hook and then flay them in whichever direction you want them to go. Leaving flay too late here means they may be able to dash out, but a lot of the time it is nigh guaranteed. Surrounding them with the box before or after can trap an enemy in a lot of CC or disrupt a team quite severely. Instead, you can utilize the pulls and time you spend tethered to a stunned enemy to usually guarantee your damage. At long distance, using 2 pulls, walking forwards a bit, and maybe an extra flay can guarantee a hit with the box that you place, or the hook is still tethered to the enemy. A bit closer and you won't need a flay. At close range, you'll need very good movement commands and a flay to land them into a box wall guaranteed, since they'll likely be in the box by the time the stun is up. And at completely point blank, you'll likely need flash to get the second pull, or a perfectly angled flay. Whichever distance and method you use for this combo, that's a total of 260% ability power in a combo where they are stunned from start to finish with a crippling 99% slow to end it with, if they survive. Though this is lower than the total AP ratios of some other mages, this one is only interruptible by QSS, Cleanse, or significant tenacity, and more importantly, Thresh has infinite AP available through Gathering Souls, and is well and truly Vhagar at home. As a CC ability, Death Sentence triggers quite a few runes. Perhaps the worst use is Arcane Comet, as your first hit will throw a comet at the enemy's current location, which you will be forced to drag them out of. Unless the character is particularly huge, you're managing to dodge your own skill shot, and honestly it wouldn't be good even if it landed. Aftershock is much better. The timing of the hook dash will often be well timed with the aftershock explosion, and then you have plenty of time after to use the rune's resistances. This makes it a particularly good tank rune to turn the hook into a powerful engage tool, following up your dash with heavy CC and disruptions from your other abilities. Just as good or better depending on the situation is Glacial Augment, and unlike Comet, an Ice Ray shoots out towards you as well, dragging the opponent along the slow zone. This doesn't provide tankiness for you like Aftershock, but in its own way provides durability for the rest of your team by reducing the enemy's damage. But putting aside attempting to carry out the ability's namesake, and coming back to regular Thresh play for a moment, it is first and foremost a powerful crowd control skill shot with a lot of utility. Thresh support can use it to engage fights, extend other crowd controls, protect, and zone. Merely the threat of its utility is often good enough, where simply walking forwards will prompt a response from the opponents anticipating the hook. A lot of how to use the Thresh Hook comes with learning how to aim it as a skill shot, and if you would like a skill shot guide from the perspective of a Thresh player, I have a very in-depth video on the subject available for you. I have one more tip that I didn't specifically mention in that guide, though is another mechanic behind how the hook works. If you throw your hook forward, Thresh faces forward and hooks forward. Simple enough. If we throw behind where Thresh is facing, Thresh will kinda turn halfway, then snap to face the target location. This is kind of disguised and harder to read than hooking forward, but you can get away with better. Hooking in another direction but not too far behind yourself Thresh will not turn during the cast time and only snap to the direction the moment the hook is cast, making it significantly less telegraphed than hooking straight forward or even hooking backwards. You can get away with this mechanic for quite a wide angle, guaranteed for sure 180 degrees in front of you, but also a little bit behind you, making me want to say 270 degrees, though that can get a little more difficult, especially in the moment. So use this in addition to other misdirection masked hook techs I talk about in the Hook Guide. And as a last extremely niche tip, once you have enough ability haste to bring your Q's cooldown to 2 seconds or lower, you can infinitely crowd control an enemy by recasting your Q constantly, and then aiming your next one as soon as possible. The 2 second cooldown refund on hit will allow your next cast right away, but this is incredibly hard to do in practice. If you're the kind of person to press the hotkey multiple times, you'll likely misfire one of these hook casts. Typically, this will surface in special game modes like Earth or Arena when you have unfathomable ability haste or the bread and butter augment. This essentially doesn't let the enemy play if correctly done, but even with error or a little less ability haste, that's still a powerful hook ability every few seconds. While its ability power synergy is good for memes, any amount of ability haste on such a great ability should always be appreciated. Overall, the Thresh Hook is his signature gameplay ability, and one of the first things Urlock Grail does after turning into Thresh is embed his sickle into the spirit of one of Helia's masters, taking their soul. From this, we can assume that this was the first Thresh hook kill, and full AP Thresh is therefore canon, or the guy had about 100 HP or lower. Regardless, this decisive throw of the scythe carries Thresh's combo, the lion's share of his crowd control, and with its great reach, is often what a Thresh player leads with. The accuracy of the hook is synonymous with the skill of the Thresh player, and if long enough has passed, he's gathered enough stats and harvested enough souls, anything found by the Thresh Hook is effectively sentenced to death. Though there's more to Thresh than just his Q. In fact, I've already looked quite into depth into Thresh's passive, Damnation, and how the Warden gathers his souls. If not that, I've also broken down how anyone can improve and land more skill shots like the Thresh Hook in my Hook Guide video. Both of these will be in the end screen. But first, a thanks to all of these members for supporting the channel. Special thanks to AJBeat91, Warsquid, Ultimate Ground, Cryo's Dad, Gentleman Zeta, Lunar Eagle 1996, 53rd Alabama Booty Obi-Wan Kenobi, N-Era, AC Immortal, Mr. Noodle, Bass1378, Gilbert Morals, Cleoman Caranthil, Luxius, Dario Castro, Entity 9, Overseer, N. Luca, Colorado Cosmico, and Hollowed. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel.